They have no voice, but they beat with life. No words, yet they cry in silence. No name, yet they already carry your legacy. We live in a world where rights are demanded, debated, and defended. But what about the one whose very existence is not yet seen, only heard through a heartbeat? What about the ones who can't speak, can't argue, can't beg for mercy? The fetus. So small, so silent, so easily dismissed. But not lifeless. Never lifeless. The most dangerous place in the world for some is the very place that should have protected them, their mother's womb. That line doesn't come from politics. It doesn't come from a pulpit. It comes from truth. A quiet truth most refuse to look at. But what if you did? What if, for just a few moments, you truly saw them? Not as an issue. Not as a debate. But as a living story that's just beginning. Even those who believe everything is predestined still look both ways before crossing the street. Stephen Hawking. We say we value life, but only the life we can touch, name, or see. If someone is sleeping, we call them unconscious, not non-existent. If someone is speechless, we say they're silent, not soulless. So why do we speak of unborn children as though they are nothing more than potential? The illusion of invisibility. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. In a world obsessed with freedom, sometimes we forget responsibility. A fetus is not a choice. It's a child in waiting. It's not potential. It's already real. The heart begins beating as early as 21 days. Before most women even realize they're pregnant, the drum of life has already started. Not loud. Not proud. Just persistent. But what do we do with that heartbeat? We silence it. Legally. Socially. Quietly. Because we can't hear it scream. We assume it doesn't feel. Because we can't see it beg. We assume it doesn't matter. But science tells a different story. And stories, real, human stories, shatter that illusion completely. Real story number 1. The child who survived silence. Gianna Jessen was 7 months in the womb when her mother sought a saline abortion. She was supposed to die quietly. No tears. No witnesses. But instead, Gianna was born. Burned. Injured. But alive. And today, she speaks around the world. With a limp in her walk, but power in her words. Her message is haunting. I didn't survive to make people comfortable. She didn't ask to be born. She didn't ask to be a symbol. She simply survived. Because life is strong, even when it's unwanted. Real story number 2. The regret that echoed. Then there's Lila. She was 24. She had dreams. No space for a baby. The father walked away. She did what many do. Years later, married and trying to conceive, she couldn't. Doctors told her she had complications from the previous abortion. But the worst damage wasn't physical. It was the memory. Every birthday, every lullaby she heard in a grocery store, every tiny shoe in a store window, was a reminder of a choice that couldn't be undone. Her pain wasn't political. It was maternal. And in her own words, I didn't lose a fetus. I lost my firstborn. A painful truth is better than a hidden lie. The inner conflict no one talks about. Even those who support abortion rights often carry silent scars. You see, you can silence a heartbeat. But the echo? It stays. Sometimes the loudest grief comes not from what was done to us, but from what we did, thinking we had no other choice. The human soul is complex. It seeks justification. But it also craves peace. And peace doesn't come from pretending. Peace comes from truth. Is it still just a clump of cells? At 6 weeks, the baby has a heartbeat. At 8 weeks, all major organs are forming. At 10 weeks, fingers and toes. By the end of the first trimester, sucking thumbs, feeling touch, responding to sound. So why is the conversation still so casual? Because the truth makes us uncomfortable. But comfort has never been a sign of clarity. And pain has often been the first step toward purpose. If you lose a friend because you're honest, it wasn't a good friend. And if you lose comfort because of truth, it wasn't real peace. A thought experiment. Imagine this. A baby is born prematurely at 22 weeks. Doctors rush in. Machines beep. Life is fragile, but fiercely protected. That same baby, had they been 10 inches to the left and still inside the womb, could have legally been aborted. Same child. Same heartbeat. Different location. Different value. That's not logic. That's convenience. And convenience is a dangerous god. But what about choice? Of course, this is not an attack on women. Women carry the burden of choice, of fear, of shame, of pressure. The world doesn't make it easy. But if we are to talk about rights, we must talk about all of them, including the right of the child to live. Because the womb was never meant to be a battlefield. It was meant to be sanctuary. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Abraham Lincoln. Real story number 3. The unexpected redemption. Marcus was the product of rape. His mother was only 15. She was told she had the right to choose. Everyone expected her to abort. But she didn't. Today, Marcus is a public speaker, a youth mentor, a living, breathing contradiction to the lie that some lives are too inconvenient to allow. His mother? Now a counselor, helping other women navigate the same impossible decision she once faced. Pain can birth purpose. What you do in silence echoes forever. We think that the greatest power is in speaking loudly. But sometimes the most powerful thing is what we don't say, what we don't do. When a woman carries a child to term, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, that decision may never trend. But it's sacred, and it creates echoes far beyond the womb. The greatest gift you can give someone is your time. But the greatest gift you can give a child is the chance to breathe. If you're struggling with this topic, maybe you've been through this. Maybe you're scared. This is not about shame. This is about light. Shame hides, but truth reveals. And in that light, there is healing. There are people who will walk with you. Adoption centers, pregnancy resource organizations, compassionate strangers. You are not alone. You are not your past. And the next decision you make can shape generations. Final thoughts, the takeaway. Life is not about perfection. It's about purpose. And sometimes, the smallest life carries the loudest legacy. If you believe in second chances, believe in first breaths. If you believe in strength, believe in the mother who chooses life despite pain. And if you believe in love, believe that it begins long before birth. Love is nothing without action. Trust is nothing without proof. And sorry is nothing without change. Let us change how we see the unborn, not as a burden, but as a beginning. If this script resonated, there's someone in the world right now who needs to hear this. Not tomorrow, not someday, today.